Kassym-Jomart Tokayev was unanimously elected chairman of the Nur Otan Party. The candidacy of the country's current president was approved at the extraordinary congress of the party, attended by about 400 delegates. According to the results of 2021, the government reported that the planned indicators of the party's election program were implemented by 74%, the head of state said. He, however, questions the credibility of the data, instructing to conduct a full audit of the fulfillment of election pledges. According to him, the party should not take the position of an outside observer. President Tokayev also spoke about the investigations into the Almaty riots. The competent authorities are conducting investigations to identify and bring to justice the perpetrators. There should be no doubt that this work will be carried out only in accordance with the law. Everything will be carried out under the supervision of the Prosecutor General's office and my personal control. We will definitely respect human rights, he stressed. Kazakh Foreign Ministry proposed new measures to support investors from overseas. The officials announced these measures at a meeting with Prime Minister Alkhan Smailov. They include agreements with countries on the promotion and mutual protection of investments, as well as the elimination of administrative and legal barriers when it comes to attracting. The country's Interior Ministry and Ministry of Industry and Infrastructure Development also announced their action programs for this year. The Interior Ministry is set to build modular fixed posts and police checkpoints, restore the infrastructure, logistic base and enhance the legal protection of law enforcement officers. The Ministry of Industry plans to ensure the transparency of mechanisms for equity participation in housing construction, as well as reform the road industry, resolve issues on important substitution and the development of SMEs in the manufacturing industry. Kazakhstan's energy sector will reach carbon neutrality by 2060. To this end, a long-term cooperation strategy will be developed jointly with the European Bank for Reconstruction and Development, the official website of the International Financial Institution announced. Thus, last year alone, the bank invested $630 million in 18 domestic projects. Almost half of them are classified as green. Despite the January events, most investors intend to continue cooperation. More than $370 billion have been invested in Kazakhstan since independence. The Netherlands is leading in terms of investments, having contributed more than $100 billion to the Kazakh economy. The US follows with over $46 billion of investments. Switzerland is in third place, having invested $28.5 billion in various projects. Over 12,500 coronavirus cases were registered in Kazakhstan in the last day. The highest daily number of 2,307 infected people was recorded in the city of Almaty. 2,124 patients tested positive for COVID-19 in Nur Sultan. Karaganda region came third with 2,043 detected cases. The total number of people infected with dangerous virus in the country has exceeded 1,204,000 over the pandemic. Meanwhile, according to the Kazakh Ministry of Health, more than 160,000 people continue to receive treatment for coronavirus to date. 10,000 out of them are in hospitals of the country. COVID-19 vaccination campaign in Kazakhstan continues. More than 8,735,000 people have already been vaccinated with two components. There are more than 10 billion vaccinated from COVID-19 in the world. China is in the first place in terms of vaccination. About 3 billion people have already been immunized here. India is slightly behind China. Good rates of immunization were also recorded in countries such as the United Arab Emirates, the Maldives, Cuba, Portugal, Cambodia, and Singapore. More than 80% of the population were vaccinated there. In another 18 countries, the indicator is about 80%. Meanwhile, in most African countries, the level of vaccination does not reach 10%. As a consequence, there is no chance for the formation of herd immunity. The European Union approved the usage of Paxlovid pills for coronavirus infection in emergency situations for high-risk patients. This was reported on the website of the European Drug Regulator. According to the results of the study conducted by Pfizer company, it reduces the risk of hospitalization and death in high-risk patients by 89%. It is the first coronavirus drug approved in Europe that's taken orally. Russia conducted military training on the border with Ukraine involving tanks, armored personnel carriers and howitzers. Subdivisions of the motorized rifle division were engaged. Over the week, the Ministry of Defense announced the beginning of testing the Army's combat readiness with the participation of more than 6,000 servicemen. We have repeatedly stated that our country does not intend to attack anyone. We consider unacceptable even the thought of a war between our nations. For sure, military tensions will decrease if NATO will withdraw its forces from Eastern Europe. In the meantime, in response to the thrust of Russian troops to the borders of Ukraine, the NATO placed its forces on the eastern flank on standby. 4 Danish F-16 fighter jets landed at the Lithuanian Air Force Air Base, and the Pentagon announced its readiness to deploy 8,500 American soldiers overseas. The cause of the power grid blackout in Kazakhstan was a short circuit at the Sirdarya power plant in Uzbekistan, KEGOC company stated. According to it, 6 power units were switched off due to the outage. The generation loss exceeded 1,500 megawatts. The power shortages that occurred in the energy system of Uzbekistan led to unauthorized power takeoff from the national grid of Kazakhstan, connected to parallel operation with the power systems of Uzbekistan and Kyrgyzstan. As a result, a power surge hit the 500 kilovolt transit northeast-south of Kazakhstan with its subsequent overload, the company explained. The large-scale blackout occurred on January 25th, affecting Kazakhstan, Uzbekistan and Kyrgyzstan. Residents of Almaty city and southern regions of the country were left without power. Meanwhile, there was no electricity in neighboring states at all. Kazakhstan intends to increase the share of foreign trade of processed products in total exports of agro-industrial complex products to 70%. This figure is now almost half lower. In order to achieve this goal, the country is implementing export-oriented agricultural projects. Thus, last year, a number of manufacturing facilities for the processing of meat, milk, oilseeds and wheat, as well as for the production of pasta and cereals, were put into operation in the country. The Agriculture Ministry noted that the number of such industries will only grow every year. By 2025, Kazakhstan plans to implement a number of new investment projects in the agro-industrial complex, including the commissioning of new and modernization of existing enterprises. This include 24 meat processing plants, 20 milk processing plants, 2 sugar production enterprises, 1 fruit and vegetable processing plant, and 1 deep grain processing enterprise. As for investment projects in the agricultural sector, 934 such enterprises are scheduled to be launched by 2025, while more than 280 such enterprises were launched last year. Slightly over 300 are expected to be started this year. A total of about 100 agro-processing plants are currently in the pool of investment projects. Their implementation will have a positive impact on Kazakhstan's economy, increase exports of processed products and reduce dependence on imported goods. Part of Kazakhstan's Winter Olympic team arrived in Beijing. The first to arrive in China were speed skating, freestyle skiing, short track skating, alpine skiing, ski jumping and Nordic combined teams. The rest of the athletes are still training at bases in different countries and will arrive in China in a little while. Overall, 34 Kazakh athletes will be vying for medals of various types. The organizers said that 400 athletes from 20 countries have already arrived in the Olympic village. The 24th Winter Olympic Games will begin on February 4th and run through February 20th.
Жаттығымыз жақсы өтті, барлығы ойдағыдай.
We are now going through the last training before the Olympics in order to be in the right shape. I'm in a combative mood and hoping to come back with a medal.
Ең жақсы формамызда боламыз деп ойлаймыз.
Көңіл күй жақсы. Осы олимпиаданы біз әрбір спортшы.
I'm in a very good mood. Every athlete has been waiting for these Olympics for 4 years, and so have I. Now we will do our best to perform well.
Мен үшін де қуаныштысады. Осы олимпиадада жақсы өнер көрсетуге тырысамыз.